everybody. Welcome to the fourth video tutorial in this series of MySQL video tutorials. In this video tutorial, we will learn about the default configuration file which MySQL server uses when it starts. So to control the behavior of your MySQL server, you need to add or change or modify some of the parameters, or you can say directives, configuration parameters inside this configuration file. Depending on your operating system, the location might change for this configuration file. But if you have installed MySQL server on Ubuntu or Debian-like system, then your configuration file will be inside the /etc/mysql directory. So the default configuration file is my.cnf, and if you open it in your favorite editor, then you can go through it. There are lots of different sections in this configuration file. The first section is the client, which sets up the default port to use when you fire up your client program, and this particular section called mysqld is the important one for us, so that whatever parameters or configuration values are set up here sets the behavior of your server. So for example, this first parameter, user, is the user with which is the owner of your MySQL server process. The second parameter is the location for the process ID file. Third parameter is the location of your socket file, which is the Unix socket. If you are aware with the Unix operating system, you might understand that that when you are connecting to the local server by firing up a client program on the same machine, like we are doing it here, it always connects to the socket and gets access to the server. The port is the parameter which sets up the default port on which MySQL server will be listening. Datadir is the default location where the databases are stored and all other relevant files for the databases are stored. Tmpdir is the place where the temporary tables are created, and other temporary files which MySQL server requires will be stored there. This bind address parameter is an important one that shows you that right now our MySQL server, when it starts, it binds to the IP address 127.0.0.1. This is an important parameter which helps you to set up MySQL server on a dedicated IP if you are having multiple IP addresses on your server. Sorry. So likewise, there are lots of other parameters which you can set up, and we will go through most of them in our upcoming videos. For now, I'll just try to show you. Say for example, if you want to change your default port from 3306 to 3308, for example, then change it, save this file, and restart your MySQL server. Before we restart this server, we just need to check whether the MySQL right now is running on port 3306 or not. So there are multiple ways to check that. One of the way is to use a netstat command from the Linux or Unix command prompt. Say tap grep 3306. So then you can see that your MySQL server, this is definitely the MySQL server running on local IP address, which is a bind address which has been specified in my.cnf, and the port number. So now if we restart MySQL using .d mysql restart, it's stopping and starting now, and if you run the same command again, it will not return any value because we have changed the value for a port to 3308, and now your MySQL server is listening on port 3308. Let's connect to the MySQL server and there is a global parameter or global variable inside the MySQL configuration, because as this is a service which depends on lots of different parameters and configuration values. You can check most of those values and configurations through the MySQL command prompt also. Say for example, if you fire up select at port, which is for the port number, then it will return the value 3308. And if you remember our previous videos where we were learning about the MySQL connection string, if you specify, if you want to connect to the port now, you can use new root minus h127.0.0.1 minus p is for lowercase p is for password, uppercase p is for port 3308, enter username password, and if you use the command /s status, it will tell you you are using the TCP connection and the port number is 3308. So this way you can change the value of the parameters inside the my.cnf file. That's it for this video, and see you again in the next video. Bye for now.